Hi, Joe Cerrone. Welcome to our weekly meeting for CAD 117 Intermediate AutoCAD. This week we're covering Module 5, which is how to dimension mechanical drawings. And so the labs that are due this week are to complete this first one, which we'll call our General Design Lab, and then this second one here, the Machine Block. And we'll make the third one, the Fitting a Bonus Lab. So you have to do two labs, this first one and this second one. If we take a look at them, this first lab is just a basic plate with ordinal dimensions on it. And when we talk about ordinal dimensioning techniques, what we're talking about is we put the origin or the user coordinate system 0 point at the corner of the part, and then we would dimension from that appropriately. And then the second drawing is this machine block with a section. And so if we take a look at that drawing, we're going to use some of these symbols here for creating the geometry or for creating the dimensions for the whole geometry. And so as we read this, this is a 1/4 inch hole all the way through with a 500,000 diameter counter bore, 0.375 in diameter or 0.375 deep. And so here we have a 1/4 inch through hole, and we have two 82-degree countersinks, and the 500 means the outside diameter is 500 on that. And so on the counter bore, this is the depth of 3/8. On a counter sink, it has a taper like that. And back to the main splash page. The exercises are located right here. Here's the machine block. And here's lab 5A. Here's the B-size mechanical title block. If we select that and we open it, we'll be ready to go with our layer set and our proper units as well. And then here's lab 5C, which is this fitting. And we create these dimensions with tolerances. And this would be a tolerance of plus or minus 4 thousandths. There's a very good recording right here from last semester. If you select it. So you can see Al is all set to go, and him and I are working with our virtual backgrounds to match the assignment that week. It's about a 30-minute video, and we walk you through the class lecture on dimensioning. And the lecture is really quite good because we go into all the details of setting up a dimension style. And so the lecture is located in the content section. And what we're going to show you how to do is to go through and create a dimension style that meets this American Society of Mechanical Engineers Standard Y 14.5. And basically what it does is it tells you where the dimensions go, what the text heights are, and how to dimension the parts, how to dimension mechanical parts. And so I go through and I lecture about dimension terminology. And then I tie that into the dimension style within AutoCAD. And so we talk about what all of these settings do in the tabs. And then we just continue to the next tab. And I go through all the mechanical tabs. And then we talk a little bit about how to dimension parts. Poorly placed dimension versus desired placed dimensions. And so poorly, I mean, it's still acceptable. It's just not the best practice. Things like crossing lines over other dimensions or dimensioning on the part. it's not preferred, but you can do it. In other words, the rules are there to be broken, but on the other hand, neatness counts. And if you go through and you follow the guidelines, you'll have better results. And then that ASME Y14.2 kind of goes through things like the text height for the dimensions, how the arrow height should be, or arrow length, spacing between dimensions that you can set up within the dimension styles. So standardization, when somebody says, well, how do you know what to dimension and how do you dimension it? This chapter does a good job of that. We talk about ordinal dimensioning and how to set up an ordinal dimension drawing. And basically what we do is we set the user coordinate system 0 at the corner of the part. And this is very often used in manufacturing, where they'll have a CNC, a computer numerically controlled machine, that can automatically drill these holes very quickly. But if there's somebody who needs to make a change on the shop floor, then they can go through and they can look at the geometry here and they can say, oh, I need to re-drill this hole number A, and it's located 11.42 inches in the x-axis and 9.45 in the y-axis. And so that's how they would be able to determine that location. And then we go into the hands-on. And so once we went through and talked about dimensioning styles and how to set up the dimensions, we go through and we show you an example of how to set up an ordinal dimensioning. And I kind of struggled with this a little bit. It's easier. It's not as easy as it looks sometimes to make the videos. But I finally caught the glitch when I was trying to make these dimensions darker. They're locked, and so they're faded. And if you watch the video, you'll pick up on that. But we just basically go through and demonstrate how to do ordinal dimensions. And then we go into our mechanical block and we show how to create that geometry, turn that drawing in. And then I reviewed some of the other assignments. So with that, if we come back to the main splash page, and then we take a look at content for Module 5, here's the lectures, the PowerPoint presentations. And like I said, they're in the video. We already covered them. So if you're just watching the 10-minute Zoom video, then I've got about 2 more minutes left. Here's Lab 5A. 5B. And here's the tutorial for 5A. And here's the tutorial for 5B, the video tutorial. So we walk you through the entire construction process. And if you're like me, you probably fast forward through the slower parts and then look for the content that suits your purposes. Back to Module 5. So we have tutorials for 5A and 5B. Review questions are bonus. They're not required. If you take a look at them, you'll probably see these questions on the midterm where they talk about what is a tolerance, what is ISO, International Standards Organization. And these are short answer. They're good knowledge pieces to be able to understand the business itself. And so we want you to have a good vocabulary as you work with these technologies. Here's the B-size mechanical title block. And here's some information on hole geometry. And what this is this shows you how to calculate an 82-degree countersink to be able to draw the line that's for the countersink right here. This is an 82-degree included angle. And it's in the video as well. And this shows you how to do it for a drill. Drills have a point on them, standard 118 degrees. So the geometry becomes important if you're putting things together and you want them to fit properly. All right, so back to module 5. Everybody's doing a great job. We're getting the work in. People are turning it into the assignments folder. So keep up the good work. I adjusted the outline of topics slightly, pushing the midterm back. I think it was set for the 6th. And we may push this back one more week. We'll probably have our midterm the 27th because that would be about the right timing. With that, module 3 is due tonight at 11:38 p.m. And then module 4 is due next week, same time. All right, that ends our review of the assignments for module 5. I'll stop the recording and then we'll go through demonstrations and questions.